Um, I'm just looking at the options because I may not need to be.
No,
Okay, it's recording now anyway, so we're okay. So
there.
Yeah, and we're live.
And we're live and everything.
Yeah. Whoa, technology.
Right,
Not gone very dark.
over to you, John.
Me.
Your room, your rules.
I'm not the host anymore. Good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, obviously, hello. I hope that you're all waving and smiling. The thing that occurred to me in line with the things that we teach is that the most basic of human instincts is for safety and survival. It is the survival of the species. That's why sex is so important to us, because from an ego point of view, that's why we're here, to ensure the survival of the species. And therefore, the thing which is most challenging to that, the thing which is most challenging to the ego, is the fear of death. And the ego, the one thing that troubles the ego above and beyond everything else, is that we're all going to die. And we spend most of our lives ignoring or pretending that this is not going to happen. But of course, it's the one thing that's absolutely certain. And all that's happening at a moment, in a way, is that this fear is being brought into very sharp focus. So people are having to deal with this fear in a manner which they've never done before. That's the bad news. The good news is that this actually provides us with an opportunity, unlike any other, certainly in living memory, for us to deal with this fear, to face it, and to overcome it. And if one can do that, then one can move forward from here without that fear, and therefore actually begin to live life to the full. So from my point of view, I think this is a golden opportunity for us. Recognize that fear, face that fear, and find ways of dealing with it. So welcome everybody, and we hope that this afternoon we can be of some help in this regard. Sanjay, over to you.
Sanjay, you're muted.
You've muted yourself.
Let me start again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, welcome everybody, and thank you, John, for that introduction, which I think is very pertinent, because what is really coming to the foreground, especially in this country, which is a few weeks behind other countries at the moment in its timeline with coronavirus. So people here for the first time are now beginning to really face the prospect of dying. Sometimes that can be something that can come through ordinary circumstances. This is not an ordinary circumstance. This is a circumstance that in this time, in this place, everybody in the world is facing right now. So we all have something in common, which is we could die. It is a very, very real prospect. I myself, at the moment, am isolating because of previous health history. I know plenty of other people who are doing the same because of health histories, and the danger is even walking out the front door, we could contract the disease, and we're told that we are more susceptible to it. So the fear of death is something that confronts all of us, but the level of that fear could be slightly different. And that fear in itself will cause all sorts of different behaviors, which we've already seen exhibited. And these sessions that we're using to meet each other as a group of people, apart in the sense that we can be anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, and yet together in this one room, is an opportunity for us to explore some of those fears that are coming up for us, whether it's the fear of death, or it could be the fear of losing your business, it could be the fear of losing your income or your loved ones, or it could be a whole host of different things. Each one of us will have something. And here is an opportunity to discover for yourself what is really underneath that, because underneath all of these different fears and kind of emotions that we're facing right now is a gift that all of us can have. And here is an opportunity to dive in and discover for ourselves what that is for us. Because the other thing that I personally hold to be true is, whilst I may not come out of this, whilst people here may not come out of this, whilst people around the world may not come out of this, we as humanity will come out of this. And when we come out of this, we will come out changed. And here is an opportunity to discover for ourselves what we can take forward. So let me just pass you over to my co-host, along with John, who is Dave. And Dave, do you want to say a few words before we open it up?
Yeah, interesting from what John was saying, and certainly from the point of view of work that I've done with you over the years, and we talk about the sort of the things that drive us and the things that we're afraid of, the fears, and safety and security is the core thing. So when you were saying for some people it's the fear of death, that didn't spring to mind for me as something that I've been particularly frightened of or fearful of. Financial security at the moment, yeah, that's at the forefront of my feelings, my concerns, my fear. And I think that was on previous calls I'd mentioned last week. I had some very strange feelings that I'd never felt before. And I think that was around the financial security. Because at that point, there were various things being said. The government have said, we'll stand behind businesses, we'll stand behind the people, we'll stand behind everyone. Different things being announced. And I did describe it at the time and since to people that I seem to be falling through various cracks for various reasons. And then it came to the point when I thought, well, okay, so from a financial perspective, what's the ultimate thing that can happen? I lose everything. I don't lose, or shouldn't lose, or I'm not expecting to lose my life over this. So even at that point, the feelings, the strange feelings had gone. So from my perspective, that was what was coming up. Now, as you said, yeah, there's no guarantees of who's going to get what, how they're going to get on with it, if they're going to survive, if they're going to whatever. But that's not been at the forefront for me. And I think, again, as you've said, coming out of this, going forward, regardless of individual circumstances, as sort of the country as a whole and humanity as a whole will come out of this with I would sincerely hope, a different perspective. So yeah, and I've said before, there was this I think if nothing else, it brings home that fact that that life for all of us is finite, and yet it's the one thing we ignore. When we were last together in November, everyone was leaving, saying, "Oh, great, I had a great time. Can't wait to come back and see you in May." Just assuming it was all going to happen, assuming we'd all be here, putting everything to the future. And it just proves, if nothing else, that cannot be taken for granted. So yeah, my hope is that regardless of individually how things happen, and regardless of what happens for me, it will be all right in some way, shape or form. But going forward, there are some massive lessons that could be learned, and hopefully things that will be taken from it. And if it's just a matter of appreciating everything that we've got, and not taking so much for granted. Mm-hmm. Again, back to that, charging around with like headless chickens for so many people, if not the most of us. Just maybe that more of a chance to appreciate what we've got, and yeah, that's sort of where I am with stuff really at the moment.
Thank you. And I'd like to open this up to everybody because we are a small group here today, and here is an opportunity amongst a few that are coming up for us to really get deep and explore this concept of emotional mastery that we all subscribe to in some shape or form. What does it mean? Because this is an opportunity to really practice everything that all of us have learned over the last few years. And the question I'd like to invite everybody just to answer is, right here, right now, today, what is your greatest fear? And we don't need to discuss it at this stage, but just let us know what your greatest fear is, just in a few words, so that if we have the time today, and with a small group we may do, we can at least address that fear or help you in some shape or form, so that you can leave knowing that there is something beyond that fear. So let me open it up, and again, you know, I urge you all just to share just a few words. What's your fear right now? So just raise your hand, and we'll enable your microphone. So B, okay, you can speak. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good, okay. I don't know, that's an interesting one, because I didn't think I was feeling any fear until you asked that question, and then one came to my head like instantly. And it is, I fear that I will lose my mum. She will die.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that, and given the opportunity, we'll come back to that and we'll explore that for you and help you with that as well. But thank you for sharing that. So who else? Who wants to? Natalie first, and then Julia. So just hang on one moment. Natalie, okay, go on.
I missed the first part of this call. So is it about coronavirus?
It could be about coronavirus, but ultimately it could be about anything. What do you want it to be about?
Because my greatest fear is being on this call.
So that's your greatest fear.
Yeah.
So first, congratulations, because you worked through that fear and you are on the call. But it's true, though, isn't it, that we all fear things, and some of them to some people may seem like, what on earth are they on about? To other people, it literally is terrifying because they're going through that experience. So first, welcome, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to say anything else at all, and you're still alive and laughing and smiling. So thank you for that. And Julia.
I think, much like Dave, it's the economic impact of all of this on selfishly on my immediate family and how we get through it, but also in a wider sense of how it's going to impact, I guess, the world, and what then that means in the long run. So yeah, that's definitely my greatest fear of all of this.
Okay, thank you. And who's next? Keith, let me enable your microphone. Okay.
Hi. It's not so much fear for me, it's just concern about the financial impact later on. Not in this period, it's after we get back to some sort of normality. What's going to happen then? And that's a concern. Fear-wise, we have no control if we're going to die or not, so there's no point in getting scared about it or worrying about it. It's going to happen. I've been speaking to my brother every day for the last couple of weeks. He's lost two friends, not necessarily through the virus, but in the same hospital that he's in the last 2 weeks. So he's been quite down, so I've been chatting to him quite a lot. And it brings it home just how vulnerable we are, because they weren't that ill. So it's a surprise to everyone when they both died, you know. So he's been quite down, upset about that. But I said, well, you know, you're still here, you're still beating the odds. you know, just enjoy your life right now. So he's actually come out of hospital for a few days just to get away from it all. So that's, yeah. And I've just been really, really grateful for everything I've got in my life now. And I think it's what the world needed, is to shake up, to say, hey, stop fucking around and just appreciate what we've all got, you know. Let go of the past, live in the moment. I think that's really important, to live in the now more than ever. And just accept we have no control over where we're going. So just live in the moment and be there and show love to each other. Yeah, and that's it. But fears, I haven't got any fears. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die. If I'm not, and I have no control over that. So, you know.
You will die, Keith.
Well, I will die. Whether I die now or next week, it's irrelevant. You know, it'll happen if it's going to happen.
So thank you, and I'm conscious also that whilst on camera, it seems like you're there on your own. Zoe's there as well. And I'd like to invite Zoe to take part as well. And then Keith, I don't know if you can change your name on the screen from there later on. Just put it down to Keith and Zoe so that we don't forget that she's there as well. So, Zoe, what would you like to share?
I think it's probably in uncertainty. I haven't got anything specific that I'm worried about. It's just I know quite a lot's going to change or could change. So the way the children are schooled potentially, because this is almost like a reset, isn't it? Everyone's now having to operate differently. So potentially things could go for the better. So systems and processes could all be changed as far as school. They might find more efficient ways of doing things, or they might, you know, whatever. So this is a worldwide change for everyone. So schooling, work, the way things have worked, you know, might find that actually you're not needed at work. Or if they decide, like in my case, they've got a showroom, they might decide they don't need a showroom. Or, you know, again with family and relationships, it makes you reevaluate everything. So that could go either way, you know. So it's all, everyone is just, it is a big pause button, and everyone is now having time to think about exactly what it is they want, anything they want to change, anything that they, you know, anything. So it's that whole what's going to happen next thing, because nobody knows.
Okay, thank you for sharing that as well.
Just another quick point.
Yep, go on.
I think what's important is that people don't lose hope and they have faith, because people are going, oh, what's the point in goals and dreams? You know, I think it's important you still have goals and ambitions and things you want to allow yourself to have, and not get down about it. You know, this is a great opportunity for us all to actually reevaluate our lives and spend the time talking to family and friends, which we never had time for before. So I think it's important we do that, but also don't lose faith in the future, because I think we could all have great futures. Those who will live, you know, if we live, we could have a great future. But we just all have to pull together and have faith.
Yeah, thank you. So just a couple more people, because I can see that numbers have increased. Suzanne, was that you waving?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Hi. I am kind of like Keith in that, do you know what I think I'm scared of? I'm scared of finding out what I'm scared of, if that makes sense. Because
what would happen if you find out what you're scared of?
then I'd have to face up to it. But I don't feel scared, but then as soon as everyone's starting to talk about it, now I'm starting to feel a bit, yeah, something's bubbling away. So I think I'm scared of facing up to what I'm scared of, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, so could you just let it bubble away, and we can do something about it and deal with it? Because the reality is, you don't need to know what you're scared of, but you do need to face up to the fear, because if you don't, then that fear is your master and it runs you, rather than you getting on with your life and making the most of the opportunities that this is presenting us with, because coronavirus, whether we like it or not, has put us into an open prison of our own homes. And just like an open prison, we can walk in and we can walk out at times as well, but we have to come back in. And in all of that, for the first time, we're having to face people and situations that perhaps some of us have never faced. And we're realizing that actually there is no discrimination here between how coronavirus takes any of us. It will take any one of us, regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of our religion, our color, our sex. It will just sweep through everything. And when we face up to that fear, because ultimately there is only one fear, and all of those different fears that we have come back to this one basic fear, which is the fear of surviving through turbulent times, the fear of death again. You know, that's what it is ultimately. So we may not call it fear of death. It may be something of a lower order, and that's okay. We can still face up to it on there. So just let it bubble away. You don't need to know what it is, and you don't need to figure it out, which seems like in itself is a relief. So thank you for sharing that. Does anybody have anything different to what's been shared, a different type of fear or concern, or whatever you call it? If you do, please do share that. Okay, buddy, just hang on one moment. Okay. Hang on. Can you just try unmuting yourself from your end?
Is that working?
Yeah, yeah.
Hi. It's not so much a fear, it's more of an observation. I'm getting the impression that by seeing how things are happening, just by observing my surroundings, it seems to me like a lot of people are in a position whereby they are getting more in touch with themselves naturally because of the coronavirus. Just like you said, it doesn't distinguish between race or religion or color. It will affect everyone. And in some way, this is kind of bringing everyone together. That's the sensation that I'm getting. There are the odd people who, yes, well, there is, of course, there's a lot of worry, but there's almost a default that where people are becoming more present. I guess it's a case of whether they are aware of this unique situation or not. That's all really. That's more of an observation rather than worry. I don't think I'm not in a situation where I need to worry. I don't think.
Okay, great, thank you. And thank you for everybody for sharing. And I'm just going to start to go through what people shared. There were some commonalities. What B shared initially was the fear of losing somebody close to us, a loved one. And many of us may have that, if not all of us. I have that in the sense that my mother, who is quite elderly, is also having to self-isolate. I'm not seeing her for several weeks, and I'm not going to be able to see her for several weeks. Even if something happens to me or her, the rules are in this situation that we shouldn't see each other. And that may apply to you as well. So I'm going to invite all of you just to think of somebody that you may be worried about their health, about whatever it is. And just raise your hand if you can, if you have somebody that you're worried about, so that I know how many people there are. Okay, and just think of that person. And right now, does any of our worrying about whatever it is that we're worrying about them, you know, it could be their health, as I said, it could be something else, it could be their freedom, because they're also having to be in this open prison. But whatever that feeling is for you, will you feeling any of that actually help that person? Will it change anything for that person? and just just go inside and just check, because it's a very simple yes or a very simple no. We know instinctively. And I'm assuming, but I'm just going to check with you, is there anybody that had a yes, me feeling this will help them? And the reality is it won't, but you feeling that feeling, is that helping you? Is it helping you to feel good, or is it actually taking you to a place where you don't feel so good, whatever that feeling is? So us being concerned, and I'm going to use that word concerned about other people, at one level, we're showing that we care, but being concerned about them, and being concerned is really another word for worry. Worry is also just a word which represents fear. So all of these are related to safety and security. Us being concerned about other people's safety and security is, on the surface, all well and good. And I'm not saying don't be concerned, but what I'm saying is, by dwelling on that feeling, it's not helping you to face this situation. It's not helping you be the best you can be, so that when you can help them, you're going to be able to help them. So it's being responsible for what we're feeling and using these situations to go inside and help ourselves, because here is an opportunity where the only person we can really help right now in this isolation is ourselves. Even if we're sharing the house with somebody else, there's not much we can do for the other person. But there is something we can do for ourselves, which is to be in the best place possible to survive this. Because when we're feeling these, if I can call them lower level emotions, we are also weakening our immune system, so that if coronavirus does happen to come our way, that weakened immune system means we're more likely to get it. Or even if we get it, we're more likely to suffer more. We're less likely to survive. So the best we can do for ourselves and for the world is make sure that we look after ourselves first. It's like the old analogy of the oxygen mask, which comes down on aeroplanes when in an emergency, they come down. What are the instructions? They always say, put yours on first. Why? Because you literally have seconds before you black out. And if you black out, you're not going to be of any use to the person next to you. So they say, put yours on first and then help somebody else. This is the same. The oxygen mask here has come down. How are you going to help yourself? The oxygen mask is down for all of us already. It's up to us to utilize that and help ourselves. And there are many, many different tools available. And, we here teach those tools, and you learn them from us. And I hope they're really making a difference to your life. They're very simple. They're very effective, but only if we use them. So the oxygen mask has literally come down, and the onus is on us to use it. Dave, would you like to comment, and then John afterwards on that this idea about caring for the people and being able to look after them? So what are the insights you can help people?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that I first time I ever got on a plane and they said that, I couldn't get it. I didn't understand it. I thought, well, that's mad. You've got your kids and your family with you. When the mask comes down, you automatically would help them. And it just didn't register for a long time. And then I sort of finally understood that unless I can be in a position to help, I won't be helping, and then no one's helped. I think there's a possibility that you can take that too far and then decide that you then only do everything for yourself. And suddenly that becomes, I have to get myself, and I have to do everything for myself, and it becomes almost an inward selfish thing. So I think there's a balance, but it's clearly get yourself in the best place you can be in to then be able to help others. And that, you know, yeah, emotionally is clearly our focus and what we work with and the tools that we've got. That can apply to other things. So that can be financially. You know, there's nothing wrong with striving to have a good career or have a good job or whatever it may be, to provide the finances that provide the things that help other people. And those people that are in a position, because then you can get to a point where you financially can help others as well, not just your friends, your family, or whatever it may be. So there are other focuses maybe, or other things that you could take in the same way and say, yeah, get myself in the best position I can. And when I'm in that best position, then I can help others. And it's just realizing, I suppose, when that point is that you get to when you're best placed, and then you're not going to keep doing it. That tendency that some people have, for the ones that save for a rainy day. No matter how much it rains, it's always going to rain harder. So they can't then get out of the habit of always saving for the rainy day. So I think that's just the only thing to watch for, is that whilst you're putting your own oxygen mask and enjoying the benefits of your oxygen mask, realise there's a point where you're adequately looked after, you are in a good place, you are ready, and then that's when you're best placed to help others.
Great point, because once you have your oxygen mask, once that oxygen mask is on, there's no point in saying, well, hang on, I need to make sure that I keep on breathing, because the mask is already on you. And whether you worry about whether the oxygen is going to come through or not and continue to come through, you got your mask on, and then you are in a position at which you can start to look outside yourself a bit more and help other people. But it always still starts off with, make sure that you're around in order to help other people, because you not being around isn't any use to anybody. John, any insights from you? Anything else?
Yeah, a couple of points. The concern for the welfare of others is something that very much resonates with me. One of the things that I learned through the course of doing this work is that one of my main drivers is to keep everybody else safe. So actually, again, for me, am I overly concerned with my own mortality? No, not particularly, but whether it's people at work, whether it's family, children, and again, perhaps not so much for me concerned that any of them may perish, but being able to provide for them financially, because they will go through a tough time as well at the moment. And it always, in some ways, almost subconsciously, I suppose, it was my job to keep everybody else safe. And so one of the most difficult things for me at the moment is recognising that, as we all are, I am completely helpless in terms of my ability to keep them safe. And following on from that, two things. Again, you just said it, I am completely helpless. We all are. We have absolutely no control still over how widespread this is going to be, who it's going to affect, the extent to which it's going to affect them. We sure as hell have no idea how it's going to affect us financially, globally. And so I keep coming back to, I will focus on those things which are within my control, which is primarily to ensure that I am mentally in a good place. There is nothing to be gained at all from worrying about things that we can't control, and that's, one of the main things coming out of this situation. And linked to that, if we're talking specifically about loved ones, again, I remember when my mother died, one of the things that occurred to me was, as children, you always think that your parents are immortal. You never think that they're going to die. And so when it's one hell of a shock, in my case, my mother literally just got back. And we are all going to die. So the fear of death is not something that's personal, but obviously people that we care about, we fear for their safety as well. But that's in the future. Whether it's tomorrow or 6 months or 10 years from now, the only thing that's real is what's right here, right now. And what's right here, right now, so far as I've got to the best of my knowledge, the way I always say, where I always hope for. And as I always say, the cleverest man in the world can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. So if you come back to focusing on what's in front of you right now and appreciating what's in front of you right now, that for me is putting out the oxygen mask. That's getting me to a good emotional state, and from that place, I'm in a better position to help others. So yeah, that would be my take.
Thank you for sharing that. Those of you that are listening in on here within the conference itself, do you have anything that you wish to share from what you heard from the three of us? Anything that, any questions that ever occurred to you, or are you okay with those answers? What comes up for you? So B, do you have anything to share, because you shared the concern you had around your mother?
Yeah, we have like a positive day. Not, but I was John earlier.
B, you're fading in and out. Could you just to make sure you're near the microphone and just say that again? We caught some of that, but not all of that.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I said I've got a positive to say, actually, away from a negative. I spoke to John earlier, and I just said to him, it dawned on me, like in the week, that this virus, in a way, has been like a gift to me, because it's gifted me with a totally different view on life, and it's put me in a different place. So I guess in a way it's put things into perspective for me, because I was doing the whole for me thing for a while, which we all do, and you know, self-suffering, and it kind of brought me out of that, and made me realize that actually, like right here, right now, I don't have a choice whether I can go out. I don't have a choice whether I can go and meet my friends. I don't have a choice whether I can go and meet new people and go on dates and try and find someone to be with. I don't have a choice. My only choice is to be at home on my own. And I feel like this has come at the perfect time, because this is the time I need to be on my own. I need to find who I am and what I want from life, and I need to be okay on my own, and it's kind of given me no choice. So I said to John, it just feels weirdly gifted to me, and it feels like it's totally the right time for me personally that this has come into my life. So yeah, long story short, for me the virus is a positive personally. I know that sounds weird and selfish to say, but that's just my mind kicking in. Yeah, I feel blessed that we have this virus, because I'm in a lot better position for it.
Thank you. And you know, a lot of us go through situations and we suffer from whatever is happening. But if we can find something that could be regarded as a positive, and in your case, this is teaching you something about yourself. And you know, quite often when we are single and we're living on our own, we're all seeking relationships. And the thing that terrifies a lot of us is to be living on our own, and we interpret that as we are completely on our own. This is actually helping you face the fear of that and realize that whilst you may be physically on your own in that place right now, you're not necessarily completely and utterly on your own. And there are many things that you can look forward to and connect, people you can connect with. You know, God help all of us. Well, what we'd be doing without these video conferencing facilities, if this had happened, I don't know, 10 years ago, how on earth would we have managed to get by? This has been a godsend for many people right now who never ever video conferenced to suddenly go out and get a webcam, or to use the webcam they already had on the computer and realize that actually you can connect with people this way as well. So thank you for sharing that. And Dave, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up on a point the sort of said about feeling guilty for taking a positive and seeing some positive from this. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to feel guilty about taking a positive out of any situation, especially something as potentially harmful as this. Because in starting to feel guilty for taking a positive, you're starting to lower your energy, which defeats the whole object of seeing the positive and getting a lesson from it and getting something from it and feeling better as a result. And as we've said earlier on in the week, the better place, this is all part of the oxygen mask, because if you're in a better place, if you're getting something from this, if you're seeing a positive, your energy is better, you're less likely to get something or get it and get it bad, and you're more likely to pass your positivity on to someone else. So don't at any point feel guilty for taking a positive from a situation. In fact, the worse the situation, it needs people to be able to take a positive, to spread the positivity. That's the ripple, that's the spread, that's what we need to be doing. So absolutely take a positive and don't feel guilty. There's no guilt. So I got a bit preachy there, but it's don't, you know, just don't feel guilty. It's the perfect opportunity. Take the positive, work with it.
Thank you. And Shaka, I noticed that you got your hand raised. I don't know if you can bring your camera on before you speak. I've just enabled your mic. Hi.
Hi. Firstly, I would like to thank Bea for saying what she just has said, because that's been exactly how I was feeling at the beginning of this week. I was feeling quite guilty about a few things, and there are a lot of things also for me positive in the virus. I'm not scared of dying through it. I'm not scared of losing money. I came to conclusion, if I lose everything, that's fine. As long as I don't lose my own life and mind, I can always get it all back. You know, it's just irrelevant. It's really weird. I've been probably happiest this week. I've been for a long time. And today I had such a happy moment. I felt like I must have been snorting something. It was just really, really unbelievable. I just felt so happy that I almost cried from the happiness when I allowed the energy to go through me. But I felt really pathetic at the beginning of this week, and I also see positive things in this virus. I've been always saying to Sanjay that one of my goals is to work less hours. Here we go. You know, I didn't expect that it will happen this way, but this virus for me personally, aside of the fact that I'm scared that I would lose people that I care for. I don't care about losing money anymore. Whole year since I came on EM, I was worried about money. And now when there is a real threat of losing it, I don't care. I just, you know, I don't. And caring about losing others, like worried about losing others that I love, that's the difficult one. That's the hard one. That's something that I'm still working on. But on personal level, I see this virus as a fantastic opportunity to review absolutely everything in my life, to review what is important. I can't describe it, how joyful I am. And that's why I felt at the beginning of the week a little bit pathetic and selfish and all this. You know, I'm not knocking down the severity of the fact that so many people are dying, and you know, and I've got father with underlying issues who may die, but I'm like looking, whoever is supposed to die, you know, I can't do anything about it. But overall, I feel really joyful for the opportunity that that virus is giving. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. And that's actually kind of brought about a number of things. So I want to just raise this question, and John, Dave, maybe you can comment on this first, because I have heard it, and I've kind of seen posts on Facebook which are similar, where there are people who are actually not that troubled, not because they've got nothing to be troubled by, but who are choosing not to be troubled. There are people who are feeling bliss, who are feeling joy, who are feeling happy through this because they've made a decision to approach this in a different way. And then others have commented along the lines of, well, what about all these people that are suffering? What about all these people that are dying? Why aren't you feeling for them? So what would be your response to the question where if somebody said, well, you know, why are you happy? Why are you in gratitude? And basically, if I can summarize it, why are you feeling good? So who wants to answer that first? So John or Dave?
Why are you feeling good, John?
Yeah, I mean, again, a number of things that Sharka said that resonated with me. And it's coming back to something actually, Dave, that you said earlier in the week, which we live in this crazy world where we all go at 100 miles an hour, stressed about everything all of the time, and missing the life that's actually right in front of us at that moment. And what this has done is brought 10 miles an hour even to a stop, giving people the opportunity not to be stressed. The really interesting thing that Sharka said was that the whole time that there was money coming in, she was stressed about money. Now that there's none coming in, she's not stressed. And that happens with a lot of our fears, that when you really shine a light on them, when you really look at them, when you really, really face the possibility of it, you see that there's nothing there. So from that perspective alone, you can feel good because you're not feeling bad, because you're not feeling stressed. And the other thing is that, again, you know, it is a question of what can we do? Did I cause the virus? Is there anything that I can do to help anyone other than the rules? And, you know, so one thing which I absolutely am doing, which again is very much my nature, is to observe the rules. I would normally go out to one of the places in the Dales where I take my dog out at the weekend. Tempting, because I think that I would have been. But I thought, well, no, if I do this and everybody does this, then we're doing everybody a disservice. So, as I say, from my perspective, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm doing what I can to help, certainly by. And for me, like, you know, life is as great now as it was a month ago and 2 months ago and will be a month from now. One of the ironies for me of this happening at the moment, happening in spring, when nature is putting on its show of the burst of life, that's still there. And if people are taking this opportunity to go out and go for walks and enjoy the fresh air, and God knows it's a lot fresher than it was a month ago, then that's what most people don't do during normal time, because they're too busy worrying about future, worrying about money, worrying about and not and giving people the opportunity to demonstrate kindness and care and consideration for each other. And that's a beautiful thing. So for me, there's another positive, and I feel no guilt about feeling guilty whatsoever. Dave, what about you?
Well, a phrase that sprang to mind, if I'm feeling happy, if I'm feeling good, if I'm feeling in a positive way, who am I not to be? And almost, how dare I not be? Because if I then decide that I shouldn't be and try and change the way I'm feeling, A, I'm not being honest and true to myself, and B, I'm not helping other people. Because as you said, I can't stop it, I can't control it. I can do the things that I can do, the things that I can control, which is basically my behaviour around other people. But other than that, I'd say I've got I've got a duty to be as good as I can be. That's me putting on the oxygen mask. That's me allowing that ripple to spread out, because if I can spread some positivity or whatever it may be from the way I'm feeling, then I am helping. And I'm doing more good than worrying and feeling crap and shitty about things that isn't going to help. I think we've spoken in the past, and Sanjay mentions about the levels of emotion and the levels of energy, and if two people vibrating at an energy, I know we're going off track onto David Hawkins now, but two people vibrating at a high energy affect tens of thousands of other people. So if I can vibrate and be at a higher energy and affect other people that I just come into contact with, and not literally, obviously, from a 2 meter distance, fantastic. And I would happily do that all day. And absolutely not a trace of thought of guilt or conscious about not doing. I wouldn't not do it. Who am I not to? So yeah, be as happy and joyful and joyous as you can. And if anyone else doesn't like it, sod them. That's their choice.
Thank you. And Keith, did you put your hand up earlier? Let me just... okay, go on.
It's just sort of more of an observation, really. It's just one of the underlying things. People seem to feel guilty about feeling good. So to me, that's a massive one of approval. It's our God-given right to feel good. I think we should feel guilty about feeling guilty and bad about things. You know, why shouldn't we feel good?
Guilty, Keith. It's just another judgment. It's just another thought. Yeah. You feel guilty. You feel guilty. Just accept that you feel guilty.
Yeah. But just accept. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't get. And I think that's what I'm eternally grateful for what we've learned on EM and through Sanj and everything, is the fact that we can accept, and we've learned just to accept what is and move on from that point and allow things to happen without the guilt and all these emotions that come up with most people. So thank you for
that. Thank you. And you just reminded me of a book that I recommend quite often, a book by Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl lived during the time of the Second World War and was one of the Holocaust survivors, but he described his time as being fortunate enough to live through the prison camps. And in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he talks about taking pleasures in very simple things whilst living in despair most of the time in the prison camps, whilst living under these horrendous circumstances, still being able to find something to feel joyful about, and also to have a goal for the future, to have something to look forward to beyond these desperate times. And he said for him, it was how he was going to share the lessons of the death camps when he came out with other people. And he really became very well known for that through his book and through the work he did in helping other people, because he had the temerity to look forward whilst facing a death sentence, just about at any time, because all that was needed was for a guard to decide that, he would just lash out, and he could have been killed at any point in time. And I think these are things that we need to bear in mind, that yes, we are going through a very tough time. Yes, we are in an open prison. Yes, there are people dying all around us. But as humans, if we don't have anything to look forward to, why would we even want to live through this period? So it's important to look forward. And that's not living in the future. It's having an intention that when we are out of this, and we will be out of this, here's something that I aim to do. As John shared earlier, and Dave as well, that this is an opportunity to reevaluate our lives. And Keith, I think you spoke about this as well, that it's a chance to actually say, what is really important in my life right now? Not 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whenever you started your career, or the path that you're on now, but right now, what is the most important thing right now? And are you living a life where you are fulfilling that? Because if you're not, here's an opportunity to change, and you've got a few weeks in which you've got nothing much else to do except focus in and focus on what's important to you. So coming on to finances and the worry about how our finances are going to be when we come out of this lockdown, or maybe even before. How are we going to survive? How are we going to put food on the table? How are we going to make ends meet? So who would like to speak about that first? John, Dave? Dave, you raised the point. That was one of the concerns for you, that it wasn't so much about the fear of death, but it was about the fear of finances.
Yeah, I mean, again, I appreciate different people are in different situations. And as I said, from a personal point of view, I seem to be sort of slipping through all the cracks, which, is not... I'm all right now, and I will be all right for months to come. And then that's just when the unknown bit creeps in. As just to how long things take to get back to some form of normality. So yeah, as I say, the two things I'm aware of: different situations for different people, and for some people there are more pressing things. There are plenty of people I know of that have literally their income has just stopped, and depending on their situation, they've not necessarily got a lot to fall back on, and it might be a while before they get any help. So there are certainly people in a worse position than I am. And so, yeah, it is what it is. And the other point I was going to make, actually, I'm not the only one. There are plenty of people in some form of hardship, or liable to be in some form of hardship. And so I also know lots of rules are being relaxed, and things like holiday payments for mortgages and rents, and the government not wanting maybe their tax or their VAT or whatever tax is collected so soon. And I would imagine going forward there'll be a lot of lenders being very generous with the way they approach their customers that are struggling to pay for things, because there'll be so many of them struggling that they can't recoup everything anyway. So again, even if the money dwindled to nothing, that still wouldn't be the end of it, because there'd be other things happening by then. So yeah, I think more of the fact that we're all in it in some way, shape or form. So again, it's not just about me and the way I'm feeling. It's just that awareness that everyone else will be impacted to some degree, lesser or greater than me. So we'll just see what happens, and that's really all I can do, is see what happens. Put a few things in place maybe, but again, I can't predict when things will happen. I'm not going to shut up shop and stop all the money going out. I've got money coming in, I'll let money go out. It will carry on flowing, but I'll just be more aware of that flow. And that's about all I can do at the moment, until a more degree of certainty maybe comes along, and then I'll adjust it from there.
Thank you. John, do you have anything to say towards that?
Yes. It's just the story that I posted on the group Facebook page just before. When I was out walking my doggy Rita this morning, and there's a guy coming the other way, and as it happens far more frequently now than normally, we exchange pleasantries. He told me he had an elderly neighbour who was 80 years old, who was obviously sort of isolating, so he was going to the shops to get some food for him. I guess that's probably never happened before. But he was a self-employed builder, and because he was working on a council building site that actually stopped 2 weeks ago, he has no income. He wasn't able to get onto the Universal Credit website, wasn't able to access any benefits. wasn't able to get through to his building society to talk about a mortgage holiday, and clearly is potentially in some financial difficulties. And his parting words to me, and as I say, bearing in mind that this was a Yorkshireman, which really emphasised the point. He said, "Oh well, I'd rather be skint than dead." Isn't that the point? Again, we come back to all of those things that were so important to us a few weeks ago. The new pair of trainers, or the holiday, or all of those things that were so desperately important, actually just don't seem that important anymore. To me, that's fantastic. The cleverest man in the world cannot tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's as true now as it was a month ago. None of us knows what's going to happen. We're all in the same boat. And if money becomes less important and kindness and caring and compassion become more important, then for me that would be a fabulous, fabulous thing. But there's no more point in worrying about money than there is about worrying about anything else that I have no control over. So I won't.
Okay, thank you. And those of you that raised the point, I think Julia, you were one of them. Any thoughts around what you've heard? Do you feel better now than you did maybe 30, 40 minutes ago around the situation? I'm not saying the situation itself has changed, but are you worrying less about it, or are you worrying more about it, or nothing has changed at all? So let me just enable your microphone. Yeah, go on.
No, I don't feel any different to how I did when I came on the call. I have, if anything is going to catch me and bubble up, it will be a fear around the economic impact on us. But it bubbles up less and less. I have accepted that there is nothing I can do about it. And with that has come a level of peace and calm about the situation. And I guess, like Dave was saying, for now, we're okay. How long that lasts, who knows? But we can only take each day as it is. And as things happen, we deal with it as it happens on that day, and we make the best decision that we can make on that day, and then we wake up the next day and we do it all again. That's really all we can do. So I don't, yeah, even though it's the thing that does sort of bubble up for me the most, I know that there is very little I can do about it, and I have no control over any of it. And actually, the best thing that we can do is to just enjoy what is being offered to us right now, and that is enjoying life and the little things like sitting with the kids and watching a movie, which I don't normally do. I normally put the kids in front of the TV because I need to get some work done and I need them to be quiet whilst I go do something. And now I sit with them and watch Star Wars or whatever it is. And that's really very enjoyable and nice. And we sit and read books together and play games and things that we just don't do. And I would like to think that when we get through all of this, we will continue to do that, and that I will sit down and redress some of the manicness that is our normal life of running around like headless chickens, thinking that we're doing all this stuff for our children to give them every opportunity, when actually what we're not giving them is ourselves. So, yeah, that's kind of where I've got to.
And what if I'm just raising a question. What if this whole thing for you makes the relationship between you and your children far better in terms of the quality of the relationship, in terms of the fulfillment, and the price for that was to go through a bit of financial hardship? Is that worthwhile?
Yes, because you can't take that away.
Exactly. Money can come, money can go. Your children are your children, and right now that relationship, if that's being enhanced, who knows what's going to happen, as I shared right at the beginning, because I remember talking to a friend of mine, Simon, who all of you have met, and I had the opportunity when I was working with him to work with his mother, who was diagnosed at that time with cancer, and Simon asked if I would work with her, and I agreed. And over that period of time, they went away on holiday together to Scotland, and they had a week completely on their own in a cottage that they'd hired. And Simon said that what came out of that relationship in that week was something he would never ever exchange. Even if he had the opportunity to have her back again, he wouldn't swap that week because of the quality of the relationship that came through, which he had never had between him and his mother, and probably vice versa as well. So he valued the quality of that time more than the length of that time. The fact that he had 1 week like this, to him, made it all worthwhile, because going the way life was going, she would have died without him ever having had that time, had the life not unfolded in the way that it did. On the end, we forget sometimes that amongst all of these things that are happening to us, there is still an opportunity to make the most out of that situation. And sometimes the price is in another area. So it's something that all of us have to consider, and then decide what's most important on there. And different people will have different choices, because there is no right and there is no wrong in this, and everybody will make the choice that is right for them, because ultimately everybody knows what's most important for them. So kind of just noticing the time, it's 5:10 now. We've kind of gone over a time. Is there anything anybody else would like to raise, or can we say that for today we've had a great and hopefully insightful discussion that's helped us in our journey through this a period of our time, of our lives. And those of you that are watching on Facebook, I hope it's helped you as well. And we will have more of these times. We'll let you know when they are in the next few days. And if you can join us, please do join us. And if you would like to appear in the conference room like this, so that you can raise your questions live, then again, please message us through our Facebook page, Sanjay Shah EQ, and we will endeavour to get you onto this conference. So having asked the question, I haven't seen anybody raise their hand. So if I missed, I'm sorry. So as a last opportunity, raise your hand if there's anything else you'd like to say. And if not, then thank you very much for joining us on this and sharing your valuable time with us. And I wish you all a good evening, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Be safe. Be well.
Yeah. Take care.